Hello and welcome to the Call for Help show. I'm your host, Attorney Paul Rebein. Also with me here in the studio are co-hosts Robin Lockett and Pastor Brenda Fruster. How are you guys doing?
Hi. Glad to be here.
Be here.
Hi, Brenda. We're honored today to have a very special guest, school board member Karen Perez. Karen, welcome to the Call for Help show. Can you hear us, Karen? We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here with Karen. We'll have to have her rejoin our stream here. But today we're going to talk about domestic violence, in particular in the context of the recent case that we've all been hearing about in Pasco County. Here we go. Karen, you're back on the show. Can you hear us? Still having that technical difficulties, but we're going to talk about Kathleen Moore, just for our viewers and listeners on WTMP who haven't been following this story. Kathleen Moore is a person who lived in Pasco and Pinellas County, very well-liked, positive person in the community. And she was involved with a boyfriend named Colin Knapp, and they went out last week, I guess, and were seen arguing in a bar, and then they went back to his house, and she was never heard from again. She I guess had a FaceTime conversation with a friend who said she told that they had been in a fight and she was leaving, and she was never heard from again. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office got involved and talked to Colin Knapp, and he said that she had left the house and he hadn't seen her since, but that he went into work at the steakhouse where he worked at to do inventory at 1:30 in the morning. Probably not the greatest, alibi or whatever to tell the police, but they went and checked the dumpster from that location. It was actually in the landfill, and found some bloody clothes and items that belonged to Kathleen. And so they quickly arrested him, charged him with second-degree murder, even though they hadn't found her body yet. And then there was a big search going on behind his house. There's a wooded area. And then a couple of days ago, they found her body. So kind of the topic for today is domestic violence, what can be done about it if you're in it, if you know somebody that's involved in it, what can you do to help them? And that's why we're having Karen Perez on the show. Karen, are you able to hear us now?
Yes, I am.
Hi, welcome to the Call for Help show. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Karen, we all know you from the school board, but you also have some expertise in domestic violence. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm also a certified domestic violence counselor. I've been a certified domestic violence counselor for the last 19 years.
Wow.
And I'm also a certified forensics counselor. So I worked also very closely with the courts. And I've been a certified forensics counselor for the last 18 years.
Wow. So you're very familiar with this topic. Let's just start off with the question that I think, some people might ask. You have some beautiful person, a very positive, friendly person, someone who's got a lot going for them, that's involved with someone who is violent towards her or has a history of domestic violence, and you just say, why did she stick around? Why didn't she get out? Can you just talk about kind of the mindset that you've experienced of victims of domestic violence?
Many women who are involved and there is also men as well.
Mhm.
We have violence against men, violence against women, but many of them, experience there's a wheel of violence, and in that wheel of violence, it includes um, violence mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, as well as physically. So, it's just not the physical abuse that, people normally are looking for, the black eye, the busted lip or the bruising, but, it's that mental, emotional, financial um, abuse that these people experience that keep them tethered to this abuser, you know, um, and if that person already is coming into a relationship that and they have a low self-esteem, that person already got them, and then that abuse continues from there. Whether they talk down to them, whether they say, "Oh, you're no good," "I'm the best thing that you'll ever have," and that person, if you're told something on a daily basis or constantly, you're going to start believing it. And I know that the community kept saying this person was so kind and so giving and such a loving person, but the person that she sought the majority of this affection and love from was probably telling her very different things. And she was seeking more of that validation from the people around her, to kind of tell herself, I'm, am I this bad person? Am I, um, you know, this terrible person that this person that my partner, my husband, or my significant other says that I am? And you know, as a community, when we see someone, out there, with us, always trying, for us to validate them on a constant basis. If we don't tell them out loud, you're so wonderful. You're such a given person. You know, we also have to remember that we're part of that person's community, because we don't know what people are going through. So one kind word to a person can change, that person's world. But, if they're financially dependent on a person, I don't know. I don't remember hearing in the news that she was employed.
Yeah, she was. She
Yes,
worked.
yes.
She worked at a bar in, I think, in St. Pete. And
Okay.
he, I guess, had been in the. I don't know if they ever worked together, but he was also in the
Okay.
restaurant business.
So,
And I don't
yeah.
think they lived together.
Mm,
But so this may not be sort of the typical case of abuse, but kind of, he definitely had a history of domestic violence with other women.
right.
And I don't know if she knew about that, but kind of the question you might ask is, well, what are you doing with this loser?
Hmm.
He's obviously a bad guy. You seem like a great person. What are you doing with this person? And I'm sure her family and friends may have had those kind of thoughts as well. Uh,
And,
what would
and
you say to somebody who says something like that? Why are you with this guy?
um, the when you have an abuser, also they're like, oh, they're just jealous because you're with me, or they don't know how good you and I have it, and also, they're just trying to break up. They're just trying to break us up. But also, if you have an ex that comes to speak with her and says, oh, he used to hit me also, she might minimize what she's going through with him, to say, oh, he doesn't hit me as much, or he doesn't, oh, he's going to change. Or
Mm-hmm.
she might even be in love with the illusion of who he can become. You know,
Yeah.
I could get him past this, or, she might, or he might have this, the idea that they could save this person
Right.
or
And
What
change
is it
this person.
is it true that it's not always just constant abuse? It's sort of up and down. There are times when the person is being very nice to them and
It is.
apologizing and begging them and saying they need them. So it's not just is it typically a constant stream of abuse, or is it sort of up and down?
No, actually, you have a cycle of abuse. So you have where it's the honeymoon period, and then it starts to, they could do something, say something, or not even at all. The abuser just gets upset, and then there's the abuse, and then the period of apologizing and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do this again. I'm sorry." They bring them flowers or try to, take them to dinner or do something kind. And then the victim lets their guard down again. And, that's where the abuser reconnects with this victim, whether the victim lives apart or with the abuser. They might be calling, "Oh, I'm sorry," crying on the phone, very apologetic. And then again, there's that wave for that abuse one more time. And what the sad part about it is, it gets worse and worse every single time, because that abuser sees that the victim is able to leave them. So every single time that abuse gets worse, with each cycle of abuse.
I would invite our listeners and viewers on Facebook Live, post a comment if you have questions or thoughts about this topic. Robin, what do you think about this situation, or what questions would you have for Karen?
I think it's more common than not, right? Let it be physical, and the word is mental abuse is possibly worse than the physical abuse. Statistically, how much does history play in this? A kid that has been abused, are they now the abuser? And again, does a kid or a child that has been abused, do they become the abusee?
Yes, that has happened on many occasions. More than not, a child who's watching a father abuse his mother, sees that as a normal pattern of behavior. Okay, this is how I control my wife, my partner, this is how dad did. And also, if a father does not correct a child when a child is talking back to a parent, because then that child, be it male or female, then feels that that's correct and will speak like that to their spouse or their significant other, and feels that that's okay. But there have been instances where a child feels that behavior is not okay, and is all the way on the other end of the spectrum, and they become themselves the victim of abuse after watching an abusive situation in their home growing up.
Wow.
Pastor Brenda, what are your thoughts, or I know you deal with families and how to kind of stop this type of cycle or these type of patterns. What do you think about the situation?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a very sad situation. One that no mother, no child, aunt or uncle, father would want to hear about and to see it come to an end. But as I was listening, and Karen, thank you so much once again for your insight and your professionalism, your knowledge on this. But I have seen patterns. I've seen patterns from all the way down to the fourth generation, and in talking some of mostly the male, I asked why. Why do you continue to do this? And your point, Karen, was because I wasn't corrected. I talked back to my mother. I heard my father talk back to her. I heard my father call her names. So I thought that that was the way that I should address, my lady, my wife. And so this is generational. This is a generational curse, which some people do not believe in, but I know it to be true, that it passes from one generation to the next until someone in that family wakes up and say, it's got to stop here. We've got to stop sweeping everything under the rug. We've got to tell the elephant in the room that you can no longer be in this room. We're going to expose your behavior. We're going to expose what you're doing. Even if the person is saying to him or herself, I'm going to expose you today because this is madness and it's got to stop. So I try my darnest to encourage the woman, because most of the times for me it's the female. I try to encourage her, get to a safe place. I've even helped her get to a safe place, at least until we can see where this thing is going, and help her to, as Karen says, identify the lies. Because if you can't identify the lies, you'll keep going back and back and back and back.
Karen, let's say somebody listening is in this situation or knows somebody. What are some resources that are available in Tampa or Hillsborough County? Or what are the first steps that they could take to get out of a situation like this before it's too late?
They could call 211, and also, the domestic violence, the spring in Tampa. Their number, I'm going to give the number. Of Spring of Tampa Bay, it's 813-247-7233. That's 813-247-7233. And if I could say this for those listening, there's a victim of domestic violence every 79 minutes, a victim. And 37.4% of those victims are women, and 29.3% are men.
Wow, that high.
Yes.
So you call the 211 and say, I'm being abused and I want to get out. What would they do? Would they
They'll provide you the resources, or you could call right to the Spring of Tampa Bay. I provided the 211 just in case you're in a dire emergency and you don't have time to dial all 9 numbers. Quickly, the 211 or the 911 even. And if you're in a domestic violence situation and the abuser is right in front of you and you're not able to speak, you can let the operator know. You just say, hey, I'm calling to order a pizza. And the operator is going to say, you dialed the wrong number. And you say, I would like that pizza with pepperoni. And the operator is going to know that you're in a domestic violence situation.
Oh, that's okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so I know places like the Spring are completely confidential, and there's no way, the abuser can find out where you are.
Correct.
And even if they did, I think they have high security, and you can bring your kids too, right?
Correct.
One question, I know I heard this a while ago, like, can you bring your pets too? Because sometimes people, believe it or not, stay in the situation because they don't want to leave their pet with the abuser. If you can bring pets to those kind of things?
I'm not sure. To the Spring, that's the first time I've been asked that question, actually.
Leave it to Paul.
Okay.
Karen, I want to ask a question. So we always talk about the people the individuals that are being abused and, possibly changing their mindset. But what about those individuals that's not being, like, I'm not being abused, but when I'm talking out loud and not knowing who is being abused, and just like talking about this situation, a lot of times we fall into the conversation of, they're stupid, they're this, they're that. So we also have to change our mindset and because that would shun somebody else that's in the audience or with us that's being abused not to come forward or not to recognize that they have power or support. Talk about what would be encouraging for us, or how would we be mindful of what we're saying when we're out and not knowing who's in that situation.
So, encouraging, our friends, our neighbors, when we see them, say, hi, how are you doing? You look great today, and just watching for a response. The physical response says so much. And I know, the pastor on the chat here understands, what a nonverbal cue says. It just says, so very much. Or when you're walking and you see that you're trying to speak to someone, and that partner or that significant other, is right there. Yeah. I know the doctors are always, trying to separate, the partners now. It doesn't matter what situation it is. They always try to get the partners alone so they could talk to them clearly. So that's one of the things, and have a clear conversation, make domestic violence not such a taboo, but, say, we're here, whoever is in need of help, talk to us. Domestic violence is now almost like an epidemic, and we're losing people to domestic violence. We're losing our children also to domestic violence, because, when they get mad at a spouse, they're going to take out the children along with them. If I can't have them, I can't have you. You're not going to have the children either.
Yeah. The guy just killed his wife in Riverview and killed the kid and tried to burn the boy, his son up.
Yeah. So, we have to be able to make this a free-flowing conversation and say, no judgment. This is a no judgment conversation. If you need help, let us know. We'll provide the safe space. I'm here. Just be able to say it.
What if you know somebody and suspect that or know that they are being abused, and you talk to them about it and they say, don't do anything, don't, I don't want to rock the boat. Don't call the police, please. It's just going to make it worse. Or I'll deal with it on my own. What should you do? Like, I know in cases of child abuse, you don't listen to that. You say, no, I'm calling the police. But what would you say in that situation?
With an adult, it's almost like a person with drugs or alcohol. You're there for them. You're supportive of them, but they have to acknowledge the problem, and want the help before you could provide the help. If not, what's going to happen?
Karen, I think we lost your audio there. Let's see if we can get that back. Robin, are you able to hear? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
She touched something in.
Yeah. But it is a dilemma, do you want to get involved?
That person passes, right? Suppose that guy or that person gets killed and you didn't say anything.
It's bad audio. Let me get back in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember I lived in an apartment and then you could hear next door some fighting going on. And it was like, should I do something? And then, you might see them a couple of days later and they look like everything's all good. You're like, oh, maybe I'm glad I didn't say anything.
But that doesn't mean,
Friends is one thing.
that abuse is not going on.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
that just means that he realized the walls are thin, and so we can't, I can't be as loud. But when I get her in a car, or we're out somewhere where no one's around, I can punch her in the head, I can punch her in the stomach,
I'm
and
sorry.
then when we go home, dare her to say anything, and he begins to tone himself down. I mean, a manipulator is a manipulator, a deceiver is a deceiver. They got that part of their character down pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Karen, we got
Okay.
you back.
Okay.
Yes. Awesome.
What do you? We were talking about, what to do if you know someone is being abused, but what if you know someone being abused and they have kids? Does that change the equation? Should you call a
It
hotline or
does.
something?
It does. You should, because those children are now in the middle of an abusive situation, and they're seeing and watching. And so these children are being psychologically abused and emotionally and mentally abused. So you should report, but, for the fear of the children. And one of the things that, as a friend, you could do for this person is always have a bag ready for them. Because when these women leave, they leave with nothing.
Nothing.
Set aside an envelope with some money for them, set aside, some clothes, some toiletries for them,
Yeah.
because, and then sometimes they don't want to go to the shelter. They try to leave town, and, they're trying to, find money and stuff for gas, trying to just leave. And this would be an awesome thing to do to help this person.
Yep.
Is abuse like domestic violence? Does it include mental abuse? He doesn't hit me, but it's mental. It's mental, constant mental abuse. Does that still? Can I still go to the spring? Can I still leave? Will I still be protected?
You can. So the power and control wheel, it's physical violence, sexual violence. It's using coercion and threats, using intimidation, using emotional abuse, using isolation. A lot of times these abusers isolate the person from their family, from their friends, even from their coworkers. They won't even let them do anything with their coworkers. And then they minimize, deny, and even blame. They say, you see what you made me do. I did this because of you. And what we were just talking about, they use the children. They make them feel guilty about the children, or they use those children to relay messages, threatening to take away these kids, and also using male privilege. And then, of course, the one we know most of all is the economic abuse beyond the physical abuse.
Gretchen, one of our viewers on Facebook, said, "Take care, everyone. Be blessed. Thank you, Karen Press, for great info. Been there many years ago." Sorry to hear that, Gretchen. I'm glad you're not in that situation anymore. What you said, male privilege? What are you talking about there?
So the male privilege is, a lot of the cultures, they have the man of the house, or the machismo, or the, I go out of the house and earn the paycheck. You stay home and take care of the kids, or they make the big decisions, or they keep the checkbook, or they come in, sit down, and treat her like a slave, or he's the one who defines the roles in the house. That is also part of violence as well.
Wow. Well, this is an interesting topic.
Very, very.
I think one that we're going to need to spend a little bit more time on, because unfortunately, our time is coming to an end. I do want to thank you, Karen. Thanks for everything you're doing
Thank you, Karen.
on the school board, as well as with victims of domestic violence. We would like to have you back sometime. We could talk about some issues with the school board. We'd love to have you come back.
Yes,
I
yes,
would
yes.
love it.
Redistricting is going on. Didn't know that. So yes.
We'll have to talk about that. There's lots of issues. I know that, lots of people coming to school board meetings now upset and things like that. But beyond those, COVID issues, there's lots of other things going on as well. So, Karen, you're officially invited back. Thank you for being on the show. And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers on Facebook Live. And we'll see you next time on the Call for Help show. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.